Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Facade Focus podcast, where I aim to connect the global facade industry by sharing knowledge and experience for others to learn from. Over the coming weeks, I'll be interviewing leaders and industry experts across the globe to discuss common problems people are facing and explore the innovative solutions that will help you in your learning journey. This week, I'm joined by Ausra Vankeviciute, CEO of Statikus Group. Ausra leads one of Europe's most forward-thinking facade contractors, headquartered in Vilnius, Lithuania, with operations spanning across Scandinavia and the UK. Her journey into the business is a fascinating one, starting on the factory floor and progressing through marketing, sales, and huge international expansion before taking the reins as CEO in 2019. What's particularly inspiring is how she steered Statikus through some of the toughest market conditions in recent memory. Think COVID, the energy crisis, and huge material cost inflation. She did all of this whilst driving a bold transformation in the way their teams collaborate and deliver projects. Now, we discuss everything from Agile-inspired project structures to improving profitability through better team dynamics, the role of transparency in client relationships, and why she believes the facade industry must work together, not against each other, if it's going to thrive long term. She's sharp, honest, and refreshingly practical in her leadership approach. And there's a ton to learn from this conversation. Now, a quick shout out to our sponsors of the podcast, which is Architectural Glass and Aluminum. More impressively, they're one of the largest employee-owned businesses in the glazing industry across the US and have a phenomenal team that buys into their ethos of collaboration and craftsmanship. I'm delighted to have them as a partner of the pod, so a big shout out to the team over there. In the meantime, let's get into this week's episode of the Facade Focus podcast with Ausra Vankeviciute. Ausra Vankeviciute, great to have you on the Facade Focus podcast. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. I had a couple of practices there, but really good to have you on the pod.
Thank you, Tom. Good to be here.
Excellent. Well, I've given you a bit of an introduction already, but I'll open up the floor to you to give us a bit of a flavor as to who you are, what you're doing now, and how you've got to this point in your career.
Yeah, so thank you, Tom, first of all, for the invitation to be part of your podcast. I highly appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So my name is Ausra Vankeviciute. You pronounce it very well. I'm the CEO of Statikus Group. We are the facade contractor, international, but our factory and the headquarters is in Lithuania, Vilnius. Myself, how I ended up in this company, so it's family-owned company. My father started this company more than 20 years ago. And 2009, I joined the company after my studies at university. I graduated in economics.
Great.
And I said, look, I need to write this thesis, bachelor's thesis. I'm going to do something about your company. And then I go to the US.
Great.
And he's like, okay. So I finished the bachelor, defended my thesis. And I said, okay, now it's time for me to go. And then he said, maybe you can stay here in Europe for a while and try to work in the business, but then go to Norway. I was thinking,
interesting. Okay. What was your initial reaction to that?
I said, okay, let's give it a try. Never been to Norway, and the whole imagination about Norway was gray, cold, and windy. That's it. And it was pretty much true in the beginning because I moved there in December, so it was not the best part of the year.
Yeah.
But before that, so I said, okay, I need to learn what you do, because my father always had a very big distance between family and work, so it was not blended. So I went to the factory. I worked to assemble windows and doors. Some people trained me, and I spent some time in the marketing to understand what is all about. And then I went to Norway, learned the lesson. So who we are, what we do, and how can we make the market good for us and for Statikus. So that was 2010 when I moved. And I spent there nearly 10 years from doing very low admin jobs to starting with sales. And then Norway became our main market, and I was taking over as the wholesales for the group, including Sweden and the UK. And it happened so that in 2019, mid of the 19, board decided to assign me as a CEO of the whole group. And I just got a call that, hello, you need to come back to Lithuania and step in as a CEO. So that's my journey to this role. It was not prepared, not planned, maybe for better. Normally the family businesses, they plan the successions and preparations and all the other fancy stuff. Not in our case. And, you just kind of throw into the lake and learn to swim. And that worked. On top of that, then I became a CEO. My father left to Japan for a month. And I was like, okay, completely.
When you joined as CEO?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that was okay. I need to really learn what to do. And thanks to my brilliant colleagues, they all helped me and still helping to understand the things which were new to me and how we can do better things. So back at that time, 2019, we were around 70 million euros turnover and plus minus 2% net profit. We operated predominantly in the Scandinavian market and in the UK. But the UK, we were still very small, I would say, tier 2, tier 3 contractor. And then I said, okay, we need to flip it. We need to become tier 1 contractor in the facade industry in the UK and grow our business. How can we do it without having a strategy in place? So I hired the IMD University, the consultants to help us to define the strategy. And 2020 launched the strategy, beautiful plans, 5 must-win battles, amazing, motivated team to go forward. COVID hit the fan. Okay, what do we do now? The whole world stopped, project stopped, we are project-based organization. So somehow this 100 million, 10% EBITDA is is kind of, drifting. But it really helped us still to stay on track and be focused because we committed what we have to deliver and how we have to deliver. It was just the different ways and different paths. And 22, or 21, war happened and energy prices, crisis and material prices. So a lot of events in the last 5 years. So I'm kind of, what does it feel to work in the normal environment? We discussed with you a little bit when the markets are up, we can do this and that. I never experienced that yet as a CEO.
That's tricky, isn't it? It sounds to me like the journey that you've gone on, as you said, like typically with family businesses, there's succession planning, there's a big plan, but then the pressure builds and you got to hit certain targets and, certain positions as you try to take over. It sounds to me like you got hands-on experience, you moved into marketing sales, built a region, that became busiest. You're on merit. You've now come into the CEO position. Your dad goes off to Japan for a month. You got to figure it out. There's no, you're just thrown in. And sometimes that can be an environment where you can learn, grow, become resilient. And, you haven't got that expectation of, I've worked in all these great busy markets where it doesn't matter who you bid, what you bid, we're going to win work. You've come through and had to overcome some real challenges and hurdles, which I think is a good learning ground and foundation to be able to continue to build. Because if you can do it in such choppy waters, then when the market does get busy and good and the waters sort of start to calm a little bit,
and that's exactly when I noticed or was starting to dig, okay, what shall we change to make to improve our profitability? Because we did analysis of our competitors, European competitors, and some looked better, some looked worse. And I said, okay, we need to really focus on our gross margins because we are not Red Cross organization. We are, we want to make profit and we want to be profitable organization. That's period. And it's really beautiful feeling to work in a profitable projects. It's a different environment. So what we did, we tried to analyze. We took 52 projects and we went through, we tried to do correlation between the profit and different variables. client, location, stage.
52 of your projects or competitor
52 of
projects?
our projects.
Yeah.
I think it was 20 variables or whatever, and what correlates to the profit margin, and it was zero correlation. It was like minus.
Wow.
It was impossible to make any conclusions out of this data. So then we decided to go through each of the project by project, and this was the project manager, so of course it was a good project. Oh, this is a site manager, of course it's a good project. Or that was a bad team, it was nobody worked together. So at the end of the day, there only one mutual thing to loss or profit for the project was the team composition. Then I was like, okay, that's a good start. So we start from changing the organizational structure. Look at the IT sector. They all work in Agile. They work in the cross-functional teams. They work at the sprints and release plannings and stuff like that. Let's apply this methodology into our case. And I remember a lot of my colleagues, Aushra, we are not IT company. Can you understand this? It's different. I do understand, but please, let's give a try. And we did pilot. So we were a typical hierarchical company. If you can imagine, it was CEO, I think, you do. That was
Yeah.
And that's, as we say, it's a deadly combination if you want to grow in the dynamic world, which, proved in the last 5 years. So I said, okay, I am not that smart probably. So that's why I need you all to work and think together. And so it was a lot of changes in the org structures, and also the positions changed. So the project manager became the leader of the team, and needs to lead the whole team to reach the successful result of the project. So satisfy the client. The client is in the center. How we serve the client. What are the client needs? What are their headaches and etc. With my team members. And that's different from just saying production you need to produce by then. Design has to deliver by then, but without taking the whole accountability and responsibility of how do I really work with my team. Somebody likes it, somebody dislike it. So we had to
That's the point that I was going to raise, actually, when you were talking about that in my mind, when we're looking at different ways to approach work, we're looking at efficiencies, we're looking at team collaboration, and trying to do the best for everyone rather than everyone sort of operating in their little silos, and it's sort of all a bit messy. The biggest hurdle I can imagine you had to overcome was getting everyone's buy-in to that new way of working, because people grow up working in a certain way. They're used to, well, we've kind of already done it this way and it's kind of working. Like, why do we need to now chop it all up and do this? So I can imagine that was pretty difficult, was getting everyone on board, pointing in the same direction with this new way of working.
It was some resistance, not too much, I would say. But what I'm lucky probably that in our team, in the project management and in other departments, we had volunteers who wanted to pilot this, let's say, new way of working. So we got 2 commercial projects, so meaning that we signed the contract, we signed the teams according to this new way of working, and then they collaborate and they have the different approaches and different ceremonies, what used to be. And we saw the results were, 39% better compared to the other ones. So then we decided, okay, we scale it. And once is when you scale it, how do you train and reskill people? Because I would say at some point you need to unknow something and learn something new. And that's probably the difficult part, to unknow what you have been doing for the last 10, 15 years and try new methods to do it. But it was quite open, and people, I would say, supported. The ones who were really against and resistant, unfortunately, we are not anymore together on the bus. But that's life, and that's totally normal,
So I've got 2 questions on the back of that, interestingly. So let's take a step back for a second. because I want to dig into what you just mentioned there about, I want to look at a specific example as to obviously working in a new way, how the old structure worked, and then how you sort of remodeled and what this new structure looks like in terms of collaboration, in terms of where the team members sit. But give me like a really high level overview just for the audience listening. I'm sure there's a huge percentage understand exactly what Statikus do, but give me the high level pitch of exactly what Statikus do. You're based out of Lithuania, you operate in these markets. What is it that the whole group does?
So we start with the facade consultancy. We work with the developers, architects, and contractors on concept. What kind of the technical solutions we can provide for the project, and we predominantly focus on large scale projects. So resi towers or hospitals, hotels, offices, and name it. Project size approx 15-25 million. That's our sweet spot, I would say. Euros in value, and we have the full value chain in house. So the project management, design, procurement, installation, which is not common in our industry. Our installation team, production, and of course warranty, and a lot of support structures like R&I, digital, HR, and name it, all the others.
And the installation team go around Europe. They follow the projects. They're not already stationed there.
Exactly. Yep. They go around Europe, and it's we want to keep them because it's a lot of knowledge. That's probably the lowest turnaround of the personnel. 10-15 years working at Statikus, so definitely they know the technology and our product, our ways of doing, and the efficiencies are the ones we want to achieve and to improve. And if it happens so that we have to work with the subcontractors for the installation, we also assign, either the supervisors, of course, definitely the site management is our Statikus and internal people. But if we can, we mix also the installers on site, if it's possible.
Sure. Perfect.
So that's on the high level, full scale, full range of facade. All the value chain is in house.
Perfect. So let's dig back into this new model then. So you were operating and looked at the margins, looked at what correlated with it, and it was team structure, who was working on what project, how the teams interacted, collaboration, and then you've now implemented this new model. One, you must have a bunch of people in there that are open-minded and curious to be able to, one, take on what you're saying, but two, go and execute. Obviously, as we said, people that weren't, no longer involved, which is just what happens. Give me a bit of an example as to how you'd set up a project before, and then what that sort of looked like, and then what that now has evolved into.
So before, we were sales department, project management department, design department, production department-based structure.
Yep.
Sales wins. Okay, thank you, we won. Sales commercial or sales manager, sales to the project management department. We won the project, looks at the list, who is the first available. This person gets the project, no handovers or 1 hour handover of the project, go to execute. Then project manager makes his plan, says to the design department, head of the design department, I need these design resources to make these things happen. And then it happens. Oh, the design department is not delivering. Sales don't know what they sell. They are, not competent. And then sales says, realization, they are old fashioned. They don't think about tomorrow. A lot of blaming, lot of, a little bit of the kingdoms and a lot of silos, because they did not work together as the team to deliver the project. They were departments. Our department is the best, not the project. So when I started questioning, then, we are 700 people, 100 million turnover. So is it the whole design department failing to deliver for your project, or it's your team member? They're not in my team. They're in design team. Okay, let's make it in your team then. Especially if you talk about with the project managers. So that's where we structured. We bid the project, and we see the higher probability to sell the project. we assign the project manager, and then we look about for the client, what's the this psychological moments, what would be the right fit from personalities point of view first.
Yeah, almost like a I want to say cultural fit, but like
Exactly.
yeah, like who's going to be able to
Vibe.
click? Yeah, exactly
It has to
with
be
the
a
client.
click, and
Yeah,
then the competences, of course, to deliver that type of a project. So the project manager is assigned already in the sales process. So they want together to win the project, and they
yep,
go to meet the client, and that's kind of starting the handover process till we win. And after we win, they also work together for some time, concept engineers and the design engineers. Yes, it's more costly for the organization, but it solves a lot of problems, especially in the miscommunication. And then the project manager sits with the different heads, discusses what kind of competencies he needs in his team, like design
yep,
manager, procurement, project management, production project manager, construction manager, to be able to deliver the project best. And then they
yep,
get assembled this core team, and then they work together. And we work in this release, this 3 months release. So we do the release planning, which OKRs planning. So it's for the company, but also addressing their clients program and clients needs, because it's in
oh,
construction, everything is changing, and we have to be fast and efficient to react to it, and not to overcome a lot of costs and then do
yep,
changes and etc. So we have to be agile in the way we adapt
yeah.
our work and the scope.
And the OKRs was that was that a Google thing? The OKRs?
Yes,
Did you
yes,
mention that's
yeah,
yeah
yeah.
objective
Objective key results.
key results? That's right. Yeah,
So
yeah. I remember
you
reading
kind
that.
of formulate objective for the upcoming release, and
Yep,
then you list the key results which must be delivered to be able
yep,
to reach the objective. And then after each of the release, we have the planning.
yep,
So it was the planning and retrospective of the previous release, what we
yep,
have achieved, achievement score, why we achieved, why we did not achieve, and then the next day is the planning of the next release, and we do this live. So all the we have offices in 6 7 countries, and
yep,
people were just not 20 nationalities around, so they are across Europe, but we demand everybody to come to Vilnius and have live 2 days sessions. So
great.
it's all the companies planning and doing retrospectives on the OKRs, and then we have the whole org kind of confirmed for
How often do you do that? Because that is so powerful. Having you've got
once a
6 or 7
quarter.
offices. How often?
Once a quarter.
Once a quarter. Yeah, that's so powerful. Having everyone in the same room across. You've got 6 or 7 offices across Europe, and my mind is going to, other companies, say in the US that have got maybe an office here, and then they've got branches, but bringing people together and having that task or that exercise, I suppose, to actually sit down together and build this out together, and use the OKR system to build that out. Sounds like you've got accountability, reflection, measurement, and from there you can build, can't you? If you're able to measure it and have a target in mind, then you can build from there and scale. So no, that's really interesting.
Yeah, sure. And you know what the one of the most important element in all these release plannings is the feedback from the client. So in each project, team must share with the project team or core team members the feedback from the client from the previous release,
Yeah.
and that's really powerful.
And what feedback have you had from the clients? Do they even realize that this new way of working is even happening, or is it just sort of like you're taking care of the project so well that they don't even realize that there's been these big changes internally, that the project's just going smoothly? Or have you had some feedback from clients on the new way that you're working?
Both. We have quite a lot of positive feedback, but of course we also fail. Sometimes I
Sure.
also do
Yeah.
very interesting moves, but it's totally normal. It's the way if how do you react to the problems, and how do you solve the problems, because problems appears all the time. So I think that's where is this structure and being close to the client, anyone, and we are very flat organization that allows us, to react and fix the problems really, really fast. And it's improved communication and transparency. I mean, I know is a buzzword, but we provide to the client the access to our, models with all the non-conformities, all the communication, and they see how we work, so that there is no space to lie or hide. That also helps. So we get a lot of positive feedback. It's still always space to improve, but my colleagues in one OKR key result, they wrote 0 calls to Aushra from the client. So that's
There you go.
if
That's
clients
something
don't
to
call
achieve,
me
isn't it?
or only to give a compliment, that's already good.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's genius. That no, that's awesome. I think you're clearly very conscious of how you're approaching these projects and trying to. We've talked about the problem already, the profitability and eroding margins already here without even mentioning it, which is great. But there's clearly a problem. You're trying to address it in your team setup, how they collaborate with each other, and how they can deliver a better result for the client, but also for the business as well.
Exactly, and we are very transparent. We want to make money.
Yeah,
it's we don't hide it, and I don't know. Maybe it's not a good thing, but it's good. We want to invest more. We want to grow. We want to invest in R&D. Look at our construction industry. R&I, it's kind of at a really sad level. The whole world is going digital, and where are we? I mean, it's still a lot of space for improvement. And if we want to improve something, unfortunately, our industry is very capital intense. Any product you want to upgrade or the softwares, it's a lot of money. So to be able to lift up the whole industry, we have to earn money. So it goes together, and we are very transparent about it. We want to, we have our R&I initiatives, and we showed, IoT solutions. We can, gain much more, but let's work together. Let's have, some research or collaborative network projects together. It has to be, same agenda, but unfortunately, it's still a lot of different agendas. And
this episode is brought to you by Architectural Glass and Aluminum, otherwise known as AGA. Looking for a trusted glazing partner? AGA has been working alongside industry leaders for over 55 years, providing reliable and high-quality glazing solutions. Specializing in Class A office buildings, hospitals, airports, and higher education, AGA creates custom curtain wall systems tailored to your project needs. With a focus on collaboration and craftsmanship, AGA is here to support your next project. So visit aga-ca.com to learn more about their services and capabilities. That's aga-ca.com. Now back to this week's episode. Yeah, I think it's relationships, isn't it, in the industry? It's big on relationships and understanding what their motives are. And I know you say, I say their motives, at the end of the day, everyone's supposed to be on the same team, but it doesn't always happen like that, does it? The main contractors, the consultants, the facade contractor, they're all trying to build this phenomenal building, and should be all with the same motive to, improve profitability for everyone, to make sure that design intent is kept and the building looks and performs the way that it was intended. But there's, as we spoke about off camera, there's good markets, bad markets, there's low bids, there's all of these moving targets that you're trying to navigate. And it's difficult.
We need to, focus on less blaming each other, why the contractors are bad and why the facade contractors are bad. We need to focus more on improving ourselves and get better. And look, it's a very good book. I highly recommend to everybody to read it. It's How Big Things Get Done.
Yeah.
by the Danish author. He's, I think, a professor at Oxford University. He
Okay.
analyzed the number of projects, 60,000 or 30,000 of projects, mega projects, and the statistics is really sad. 0.008% of 60,000 projects were done on time and within budget. So we talk about big gap from where we want to be. So why it's like that? And if we all have a thinking and mindset that projects must be delivered on time and within the budget, then maybe we will be able, all of us, to make more money, because we waste a lot of money for not being on time. And why we are not on time? We don't respond on time. We don't have the right communication channels, or the attitudes or tools or whatever. What are the reasons we are not on time?
That's interesting, because based on those statistics, you could be called crazy for going into a project and expecting to be on time and in budget, because
Exactly.
the stats do not back it up. There is absolutely no reason to think this will be on budget or in time. So is that I imagine there's tons of ways you can look at this, but I'm just sort of thinking out loud here. So is that a problem with execution and planning from all the companies involved in these projects? Or, look at it differently, the timeline and the budgets that are set on the front end, are they just wildly skewed and completely unrealistic? Because it has to be one of the two.
Some projects are on time and within the budget, but I liked in that book was a sentence from Jean Nouvel. I'm not sure if he said it or not, but I said that was written in the book, that in public projects, budgets are for marketing purposes.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
is it true? All right. It's a little bit of truth, I think, in that area. So we have the public projects, and then we have the private investments, and each of the project has some variations from the original program. But then I would like to understand why we on the construction sites are delayed, why the general contractor is delayed, why consultants are delayed, why we are delayed, and how much it costs us. For us, it costs a massive amount of money to come later, and then of course we try to pass this cost to the contractor, and the whole thing goes around. But it's because of the fault, some kind of fault, why we are delayed.
Is it this? I may sound really stupid here, and it certainly wouldn't be the first time, and it definitely won't be the last time. But is it? I hear this all the time, and there's delay claims specialists, there's all sorts of litigation out there for contractual terms on construction projects. Is it delayed, or is that just we use the term delayed? Is that just how long it should have taken? Should we have just allowed more time and the budget be higher? Or because you pick in a schedule, fine. You plan it out, fine. Here's the budget, fine. But that's just unrealistic to start with. It's not really a delay. That's just you got it wrong, the front end. Like you've not planned how long this should take, but then you look at a project and say, "Oh, we're delayed. Well, that should that have been baked into the plan on the front end, or was it realistic?" And actually, yeah, we are delayed. It's taking longer than it should have.
Yeah, so I mean, it was not stupid. It was very correct what you said, but it depends on some projects. By purpose, client is really smart, and for example, decides that, okay, for this project, my supply chain will be for one-time use, and then they can go aggressively using the different strategies, and because they don't care if the supply chain will survive. That's one scenario. Another scenario is that both contractor and the facade contractor are both not that professional, and they both believe that the program and the budget is right and expect for the miracle at the end of the project, and the magic does not happen, and reality hits. And then, unfortunately, in our business, the real result you're gonna see in 2-3 years after you sign the project, sign the contract. So it's not like immediate result. And
Yeah.
sometimes that, both professionals on both sides work, and it happens. So, okay, we thought that we need less hours for the design, less hours for production, and it appears it's more complex than you anticipated. And okay, what
Yeah.
do we do about it? So how do we solve this problem? Do we force them in the installation, or do we add the extra forces? And it comes at extra costs, of course, of it. But it happens, but I would say that's not a tragedy. Tragedy is first two options.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? And I think you might have mentioned this off camera, this phrase, not to do with this, but doesn't look like there's one answer either. There's not
No.
just like hey, look, do this, problem solved. Because I imagine once you solve that problem, another one problem's going to arise anyway because you've solved that. So yeah, it's moving targets. I use the phrase all the time, but there just seems to be so many moving things happening at once. And as you said, the time for reflection on getting it wrong also isn't like tomorrow. It's 2 or 3 years down the line. And then you've got to reflect back on where did we get it right? Where did we get it wrong with these long sales cycles, these long delivery cycles, actually executing, handing over. It's a long time. And then you look back and the people that were on that project may have moved companies. They've got new people in there, and everything's changed so much. So yeah, it's tricky. What are you guys doing? I mean, aside from completely revamping how you set up for your projects internally and collaboration, talking about solutions to eroding profit margin, just profitability as a whole. Where are the solutions on these projects apart from just rejigging your teams internally?
So one is the internally what we can do about that's what I just explained. The whole reorg.
Yeah.
The other one is learning to say no to certain projects, and that's painful. The project selection is the key, because we are not the right fit for all the projects, and not all the projects is the right fit for us, and
Yeah.
that's period. And we need to crystallize and understand what are those projects. And sometimes it's better, to go down in the turnovers, especially in the downturn economies, than just to grab whatever project to fill the factory and then pay a price. We found it's not for us. It does not work for us, and we also changed the way how we look for the project, not chasing according to the factory availability, but according to the design and project management availability. If we don't have the right design on time, doesn't matter that you have the capacity in the factory. It's gonna fail anyway. So that's what do you stress. And work and focus on delivering the project, not like on looking how you can benefit of making money in the process. At least that's the recipe for us.
So focus on selling just really good work rather than any work, and
Exactly.
trying to be intentional as to how you're bidding work, resources that you're allocating, and not just trying to keep people busy just to keep them busy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love the theory, and it's, again, I try and implement that, as we spoke off camera, into my own business as well. And companies I work with, I know, are going through that process now. That has to be a lot harder in practice than it is in theory, to say thank you, but no thank you.
It is hard. It is hard now. I'm playing this bad cop in the organization, that I try to challenge my colleagues why one on a project is good for us. Why do we have to send the bid? And first they have to sell it to me, and then we go and they say yes or no to the client. So it's somebody has to start. It's not a nice role,
Yeah,
because you at some point also want to deliver all the projects, but we also want to earn money. We
absolutely.
also want to increase the salaries of our employees and the colleagues. It's
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing as well, isn't it? Is cost of living, inflation, all that sort of stuff. I know it's talked about all the time now. But yeah, you got to keep making money to look after the people that are delivering these projects and that are working so hard on these things. That's another great point that is not talked about enough.
Exactly. I mean, everybody wants to have professionals in the project, but the
Yeah,
professionals cost.
yeah,
So if you want, I mean, and we have to respect it, and we have to compensate for their capabilities, competence, the personalities, and etc. So it's no magic trick here.
no, and that point is not. It's not talked about enough. It's not highlighted. It always seems to be just focused around not always profitability, but looking after your staff and keeping them motivated and rewarded for the right things. Yeah, not just throwing around money for the sake of it, but actually rewarding people and being able to make people feel valued within the business is so huge in what you're going to be able to be or deliver project wise in the future. So I think it's obvious what impact this will have, but if companies can look at this and say, we need to look at how our project teams are put together, we need to look at how we're interacting with the client and actually solving these issues that come with profitability. What impact do you think that will have on the industry as a whole? I'm going to put you on the spot there.
You put me on the spot. It depends if you talk about the short term or long term. Of course, in the short term, it got all the changes costs, right? But in
Pain,
the long run, if we start working together, more collaborative approach, and I'm not afraid of using this transparency, but in a transparent way, we all gonna gain. It's you can fool once, you can fool twice, but it will not be third time, and your reputation will be damaged, and etc. So in the long run, everybody will benefit.
It's almost like the rising tide theory, isn't it? That if we can all come together, rising tide raises all boats. Yeah, again, I love the theory. I imagine it's going to be super hard in practice to.
It's a lot of fun as well. It's a lot of fun. It's you try something new. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally buy into that. I mean, look, we're sat here on a podcast which didn't exist 3 months ago, so I'm all for it, and I think we should be open-minded, curious, and there is a saying, but I'll keep it PG. But I like to say sort of like just mess around and find out. Just have a look. Turn the stone over, see what's under it. Like there may be something there. It may not work the first time, but the lessons that you learn from giving it a go, you might be able to implement or take a lesson from it and implement it in your business. The whole concept that you're trying to do might not, you might not pull it off, or it might be the wrong direction. But all of those learnings, all of those things that you figure out along the way just make you be able to refine and iterate your process over and over again. If you can keep refining, you're going to be in a better place, short, medium, and long term.
Yeah, I mean, we also I like to challenge ourselves and say, okay, if our industry is not progressing at the speed we would like to, let's see which industries progresses. One is the org structures and setups and the team. We want to become the high-performing organization. And what does it mean to be a high-performing organization? We have to have a high performers and the talent density. What does it mean? What do we not allow ourselves to have in place? So which companies we can share or listen and go and learn from them.
Yeah.
And then it's I don't know, aerospace. We have the automotive. They are more advanced in the different ways, like supply chain management and etc. So we go and also talk to them and learn from them. So I'm very curious person myself. So I'm always asking for the advices and see what we can adapt into our business, even though it looks like not related, but we can learn from each other.
Absolutely, yeah. They've it's getting that different perspective as well, isn't it? I think you mentioned it was the way that the IT industry approaches, project delivery and being agile and, quick sprints and that sort of stuff. Again, the tech industry and how they approach their, their technical sales cycles. And yeah, their sales cycles might be quicker or, quicker turnaround than construction. But, there's a way that they're looking at it to develop relationships that probably the construction industry hasn't even considered before. So again, it's taking those little bits of perspective and implementing them into your business, which you've clearly done a great job of. And I can't imagine you're going to stop anytime soon.
Thank you.
So no, look, this has been great. I could talk about this all day and we could go down so many different rabbit holes. I know we could, but we're going to jump into before we jump into the quickfire questions, I'll open the floor up to you. Is there anything you want to leave us with, not as official as a closing statement, but is there anything that you want to leave us with that we've talked about that you think would be valuable for the listener?
It depends who is listening, but my key message is let's work together, not against each other. And even to the competitors is the same. We will not win all the projects. So is it really we have to bid on all the projects and go with the lowest prices we can? And that's where we are damaging each other's lives. Yeah. Starting with the facade contractors, let's work together against each other, and let's not stop progressing. That's we are responsible for our industry. We are responsible that in the kids at schools, they want to go and study engineering, and if we don't make the construction industry, sorry for the wording, but sexy, we will have a massive problem in the near future, and we will not make it attractive or sexy without investing in it and working in a different ways, as we've been doing this for the last 30 years,
Yeah, you're totally right. And again, that's another thing that is a huge problem in the industry, is actually attracting the next generation to come and get involved. It's, you've got people you mentioned earlier, your installation team or crew being one of the lowest turnover in the business, and you've got a great team there with such technical knowledge, and at some point they're going to get to the point where they're going to retire, and then it's about knowledge transfer. How do you get that knowledge and that technical know-how into the next generation? But the next generation has to be coming through for that to even happen. So yeah, I think that's a whole nother problem, a whole nother podcast that we'll do in round 2, I'm sure.
Yes, cool. Upskilling, reskilling, and all the stuff.
I know. Well, we'll get into the quick fire questions. I know there's so many things that we can talk about here, but let's get into the quick fire questions first. So, tell us about your favorite food that you like to eat.
Potatoes. Anything with potatoes.
Anything. No, there's no preference at all. Just potatoes.
If you really want to bribe me, bring me French fries. It's unbelievable. I mean, if I would not get fat, I would eat potatoes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I tell you.
I've never heard that. That is unbelievable. I love that. I do love a French fry as well, I must say. I'm thinking of my favorite potato now you've said that, and I think it has to be a roast potato.
Also, sounds perfect.
Yeah, roast potato. Yeah, let's go with that. Do you follow any sports teams?
I used to, but now anymore. I don't know why, but I got hooked on the skiing. Probably that's the influence of Norway. So
what type of skiing? Are we talking
cross-country skiing? Yes. So I have my 2 athletes, favorites ones. One, the boxer, Norwegian, Cecilia Brækhus, and another is the cross-country skier, Therese Johaug. So that's...
Wow. Interestingly enough, I don't watch it, the skiing. My kids love to watch it because they were flicking on. I was watching, I think I was watching the golf at the time, or it might have been the football. And that had finished, and one of my young kids had got hold of the remote they were just clicking the channel button and Eurosport came on, and the cross-country skiing, they were glued to it. I mean, I don't watch it, but they could be the next generation of fans, I think. They're just clicking onto
It's a good
Eurosport.
sport.
Yeah, it was good to watch. Yeah, it looks unbelievably hard as well.
It is. I do cross country, so it's quite. It's a good training, though.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, cool. So, what's your favorite city and why?
Vilnius.
There you go. Say no more.
A part of Vilnius, I would say a lot of cities I like, but then New York City is my piece of cake. I like the vibe, smells and sounds and everything there.
Yeah, all encompassing.
Yeah,
I love that. What's your favorite hobby?
Training.
Yeah,
training is my. I try to do meditations, and I found out that the training is my meditation, because to go to these normal regular meditations, I fell asleep or I'm not. Training.
Any particular type of training? Just gym, CrossFit, running, high rocks, anything specialized? Just moving.
Yeah, moving. So I tried a lot. Cross country skiing, alpine, then horseback riding. So of course the gym, running, it's a different part, but I have to stay active and that's my thing. Currently started to play drums. So
cool.
wow,
very cool.
I have a respect to all drummers. Massive to all drummers.
Unbelievable. So do you think that's going to stick around in the hobby list, the drumming, or is it mess around and find out?
If the teacher is not going to kick me out, then it's gonna stay.
I'll be asking you in round 2. I'll be asking you how the drumming's going. You might have mentioned this already, but favorite book or movie?
Good question. Recently, I read a very interesting book about Abramovich, this artist. So that was very interesting to read about her. Else, I'm very boring. I read mainly this business-related things. But that was a good book.
And what was that called?
It's about Marina Abramovich. Is performer, artist, and all her biography. It's more female thing, but I do recommend everybody to read it.
Do you like reading fiction and non-fiction and real life stuff?
Real life stuff, documentaries, biographies. So that's something.
Great. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Best piece of advice I ever received is very. I still use it. I try to use it because I'm quite talkative person. So don't forget that I have 2 ears and 1 tongue. So I have to listen more than I talk.
The big learnings is the listening. Yeah. It's hard not to talk sometimes, but once you've practiced it, very useful.
To really listen. That's an art.
Conscious listening. Yeah. It's hard. I don't live by that, but I'm trying my best at the moment to try and consciously listen, because there is a difference.
It is.
But just being there. If you could have dinner, with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Currently, I would like to have a dinner with Winston Churchill because of all the geopolitical situation.
Ask him a few questions.
If we don't go into that, then Freddie Mercury.
Okay, why?
I mean, his music, and I think whatever he did to the music industry, I think he was a really nice and interesting personality. I still listen, and
brilliant.
I don't know who can replace him in the near future.
Yeah, icon. What's the number 1 thing on your bucket list?
On my bucket list?
Yeah.
Number 1 thing? Actually, I don't have
a bucket list.
No.
Interesting. Not one thing. There must be one thing out there that you just think, I have to do this at
I mean,
some
lose
point.
weight, but that's constant thing.
I think that's number one on most of our lists, isn't it? There's got to be something, maybe a travel piece, something that.
Yeah, I have. I signed up for the classes to study. I'm gonna go for a week to study. That's 4 universities make one program. It's a Harvard, Oxford, Stanford, and AIE from the Madrid. So I have to read a lot of case studies and answer the questions. So that's probably on
Wow.
top of
And you
my
say that's
mind.
you have to go there for 1 week.
Yeah,
Wow. When's that?
April 7, 11.
And the outcome of that, what are you hoping to achieve from going to this for a week?
To leave smarter than I came, it's more where all the things, where that digital world is going, how it's gonna affect our leadership styles and strategies and things like that.
Brilliant.
So,
Well, I'm sure you'll take no end of value from that. So
hopefully.
if you could travel anywhere right now, where would you go?
Yesterday I was thinking actually about it, so I would say Barbados, maybe. Just I want some sun and because it's snowing and raining, it's cold. I've got
You're due some sunshine and a beach then.
fed up by that.
Brilliant. Last question. If I could give you a mulligan, so basically a redo on any decision you've ever made, what would you choose?
On any decision I ever made, too many decisions. Redo decisions I ever made. None.
None. Live with the past. Don't regret. Keep moving forward. Yeah. Love it.
Exactly.
Love it. Well, look, this has been awesome. You have been unbelievably kind for giving me an hour of your time. I think there's lots of valuable nuggets in there that people are going to be able to, even if they don't implement something that we've spoken about, I think whoever's going to be listening to this will be able to relate to the problems, and also even from looking inwards, their teams, how they can rejig, how they can look at their delivery piece slightly differently, I think will be unbelievably valuable. So I've enjoyed this, and I'll be definitely coming back for round 2 if you're up for it.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it as well. So looking forward to the next time.
Excellent. All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Aushra.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Guys, that's it for this week's episode of the Facade Focus podcast, presented by me, Tom Caldicott, founder and CEO of Unity Search, where I help glass and metal businesses hire the best talent and build their brand on LinkedIn. Now, I've worked across Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and North America, and I'm on a mission to help connect each Facade community to give you the tools to learn and grow. Now, I'm a big believer in sharing knowledge and provoking conversation, so I hope you take something valuable from each episode that gets you thinking about how you can be better tomorrow. Remember to like and subscribe the video on YouTube and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It really helps us reach more people to achieve our goal of connecting the global facade industry. Tune in again for next week's episode, and I'll see you all there.